Okay, so welcome Sally and Chris for the first time to the Zoom room. So thanks for doing that sharing, Chris. I want to talk to some of those some of those experiences you had without going into any details, but how you can actually deal with an extreme challenge like that. So I mentioned the principle earlier with Sally's share about the world is really just the mirror, and anyone who shows up is just a projection of your own mind. So your experience is just that, sort of many times amplified. It was a particularly difficult, challenging experience, but the way your ex behaved towards you is just a projection of a deeper unconscious guilt, fear, sin, attack program, and we call all of that the ego in your own mind, and it's manifesting very, very strongly in your life. And so that's why it's happening. And from a spiritual perspective, it's extremely tough to face your own darkness. But she's actually done you a huge favor, because by seeing it coming up so strongly, and now you have to face it, you can actually heal it, you can let it go, and you can be free. So she's what we'd call a major life lesson to really help you to awaken from this dark dream of the ego, and to say, I'm done with this. This thought system really is ugly and vile and awful, and I don't want it. I want to let it go. I want to heal. I choose only love. And that's really what the hero does in the face of the difficulties that life throws at him or her. He or she chooses to let it go. So I'll just bring up. In fact, it's in here. So there's the hero's journey. So if you notice here down the right, trials, temptations, failure, difficulty, all of these things happen on this journey. But that's the only way that the hero really grows. They have to be really tested to the core in order to overcome their own self, their own. It's really everything is a reflection of their own ego, and their journey is to overcome their own darkness, which shows up in their world on their journey as tests and temptations and trials and difficulties and apparent enemies. So one needs one actually needs the enemy. If you look at all the heroes' journeys in movies, Star Wars, classic hero's journey, The Matrix, another classic hero's journey, Lord of the Rings. There's always the dark side, isn't it? There's a character or characters who come to test the hero, and really what the hero has to do is to let go of that darkness in themselves. That's the whole point of the journey. They have to face their own weakness and their own propensity for the darkness, and then let it go, release it.
It must say something about me. All three of those films I gave up with halfway through and never saw the end of any of them.
Really interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I hated them. I didn't like any of them, so it must have had something that I didn't want to see or something. Who knows?
Yeah, interesting. Because those are archetypes. Those films are archetypal, based on the hero's journey. Specifically, George Lucas wrote the Star Wars script based on the hero's journey that he'd read about, that Joseph Campbell wrote about in the late 40s. And so a whole genre of movies has been birthed out of Joseph Campbell's work. In fact, the whole industry, the Hollywood movies, they all base it on the hero's journey, because they've figured out this works. You have the blockbusters like Star Wars, and they go, the formula works, so let's just keep cranking out the formula. It's the same story, just different setting, different characters, but essentially the same story. You go, well, how can they tell the same story over and over and over again, and yet people will carry on buying tickets? Because obviously the characters change, so it seems to be a different story, but it's actually all the same story. And we want to watch these stories because they resonate with us. Ultimately, we are the heroes of our own lives, and so the stories show us an aspect of ourselves. We've all experienced difficulties, challenges, trials, temptations, so that's shown on the screen. And then we identify with the character. Oh yeah, that's just kind of like me. I get it. I've been through some of those struggles and difficulties. And then of course the character always comes through, and the hero learns a profound lesson, comes through, and they survive, and not only do they survive, they thrive. They've now upgraded themselves from ordinary to hero status. And we all ultimately, we want to do that. It taps into a part of our mind that doesn't just want to be ordinary in the world sense, or dysfunctional, or challenged, or that wants to transcend and triumph. So it taps into our spirit. It's saying there's something more in you than meets the eye, and you really want this power. So the value of the hero's journey is to see that it's a universal journey. Everyone's on it. Your life doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm saving the world or blowing up Death Stars, or those are what the kinds of things that happen in the movies. But your journey is to find yourself, right? In the end, all of that journeying, whatever the character hero of the journey has done, all of that journeying is really just so that they can find themselves, who they really are through this experience. And that's what we're all seeking. So what Joseph Campbell's tapped into is the perennial philosophy: know thyself. Who are you really? And the hero's journey kind of charts how this is going to work in your life, that you have these phases, the moving from the known world. This is separation. The first part is separation from the known world. So what your ex-wife did for you was she literally kicked you out of the known world, which is quite helpful. She said, okay, it's over. So this comfortable, normal, known world that you got quite comfortable with and you were in, suddenly that ended. And so that's called a call to adventure. It's like, however that happens, it can be traumatic, it can be an invitation. There's something that, saying go. And, often then you refuse the call. So you were trying to go back, and it's like, no, you're out there. There's no way back. And then, at some point you meet a mentor, and I'm sure you've met many on so far on your journey. You've gone to Finhorn because there's a call for connection and help and guidance, and right now you're in this room because of that. So you meet a mentor, and you cross the threshold from the normal world into the unknown world, and this unknown world is called initiation. So it's difficult and it's challenging. You have a lot of tests and challenges. There's enemies, there's also allies, and this is all about approaching ultimately the inner cave, the place in your mind where you don't want to go, where all of the darkness is hidden. And through the trials and the temptations on this journey, it starts to reveal that. So it's very uncomfortable. And it's not called the hero's journey for nothing, because you have to be quite heroic to overcome this. It requires a lot of courage, a lot of discipline, perseverance, saying, I'm not going to give up. Interesting, if you gave up halfway through on those movies, that might be one of your patterns, a tendency to give up, and not go through the whole journey. But where you are right now is in the initiation phase. It's like, so everything's been turned upside down. You've gone into the unknown world. You don't really know what you're doing, and you're looking for guidance. But that's actually just part of this process, because the hero will feel at times lost and abandoned and rejected and not sure of himself or herself. And all these kind of fears and doubts and worries come up, and they have to face that. That's their ego testing them through the experiences that they're having, and they have to overcome that. So I don't know if you watched one of the Star Wars movies, but it's worth mentioning this particular scene. So Luke Skywalker, the hero, has to go and he's doing his training. He has to go into this kind of dark forest, and his teacher Yoda says, you have to go in there. So he goes in there, and it's kind of spooky, and he comes face to face with Darth Vader, who's his nemesis, and he fights him, and then he cuts off his head. This is all happening in his mind, of course. He cuts off his head, and then he sees that underneath the helmet was him. It's his own face. So he's facing himself, and he goes out and he says, "What was that all about?" to Yoda. And Yoda says, "Well, you brought into that place whatever was in you. So that darkness isn't him." And so that's the message of the hero's journey. It's all about facing your own darkness and overcoming it. And this whole situation has happened for that. So your ex-wife has done that for you. I know that's difficult to understand. It's much easier to go into anger and resentment, saying, "Why have you done this to me?" But actually, it's happening for you so that you can go on this hero's journey, and you can actually go through this process and discover who you really are. Come out the other side as Chris the hero, who can now return, having had this transformational experience, can return to the known world and be truly helpful to other people who are looking to take the journey. And so it's actually, she did you probably the biggest favor of your life. And that's not always easy to see. But if you frame it in this perspective, you see, well, without the call to adventure, without someone or something separating you from your known world, the normal world that you're familiar with, the hero's journey doesn't happen. It needs that push. Because often the hero's not ready to do that. It suddenly just happens, and you go, "Well, I wouldn't have chosen this." I mean, if a few years ago, before this had happened, you'd said, "Well, would you choose that?" You'd say, "No way." Like, I have a family, I have a life, I have kids. It's all quite good. So you wouldn't have consciously chosen this, but it's happened for you to help you on this hero's journey to grow through this into who you're really meant to be. Know thyself. And yeah, it's all good. It's all part of that process. Now, that might sound a little bit glib and like, "Oh, well, easy for you to say." But we've all been through. I've been through this. I've been through one cycle of this. And yeah, when you're going through the ordeal, when you're in the abyss, it really doesn't feel good. It feels horrible. It feels like your world's falling apart. But it's not falling. Your world's not falling apart. What's happening is your ego is being undone. And so it feels like, because the ego is responsible for your perception of the world, it feels like your entire world is crumbling. But that needs to happen in order to be reborn. There's a death. It's the death of the ego, which doesn't feel pleasant at the time, and the ego is going to kick and scream and resist this. But understanding this can be really helpful. Going, okay, but this is what it's about. This is the universal theme. This is what Joseph Campbell found, a universal theme that underpins all heroes' journeys, every culture, every spiritual tradition, every religion had this. So he called it the monomyth. This is the archetype, because in life there are these two forces. The one force is trying to stop you from growing. That's we call the ego, in Course in Miracles terminology. And the other one is trying to awaken you, trying to help you to get beyond that, into discovering who you really are. And because that's the way the world works, you have this hero's journey where these two forces play themselves out over the course of someone's life. And you see it so often. You saw the pattern that, well, it must be true that this is pointing us to a fundamental truth about human existence, that we all desire to know who we really are. And that's really the purpose of our life. So if this process is going to reveal more of who you really are, it's a good process. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So you have to remember that on the days when you feel lost and afraid and angry and upset, you got to say, this process is actually what I signed up for. This is why I'm here. I came into this world to learn this. So there's no room then for self-pity or anger or resentment. You're like, I came to learn this lesson, so let me learn it. And you learn it by practicing. Spiritual practice helps you to get through these trials, these temptations, and accelerate this journey. So ultimately, you do collapse the ego, and you come out the other side, and you go, "Wow, I can kind of laugh about it now. That was a pretty intense journey while I was taking it, but I'm out the other side now, and I can see it from above the battleground, as Yeshua calls it." And you just look at it, you go, "This really doesn't need to affect me negatively anymore. It's an experience. I learned from it. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for every aspect of it, including the bad bits." And then that's forgiveness. Then you've really let it go, because that situation can't trigger any negative thoughts or emotions in you anymore. Because that's really all that's happening. The situation is being used to trigger all of that negativity to arise again and again. And then the ego is saying, well, this is what it is. This is what reality is. This is who you are. This is what it is, and don't you forget it. And it feels very dark and very heavy, doesn't it? And it's not, it's not a happy dream at all. But you can get through it.
I can definitely see a part of the ego that I particularly struggle with. I mean, it's all been horrible. It's been really horrible not seeing these kids from the day that I was their parent to, I was really upset last year when they didn't come to my dad's funeral or even reply. But what I realised is the thing that I feel most upset about of all, and this is sort of an ego thing, is the fact that my ex-wife made these very, very serious accusations against me to the police, to family courts, that were completely false. And she told the kids that I was a horrible person. And I found that really hard, even though I know I'm none of those things and didn't do any of those things. I found that really hard. The part of me that wants to be liked, that wants to be seen well, to not have my name in the local papers as a horrible person or whatever it is. That part of me and the disrepute that people feel, the distrust of people towards you, I find that really hard. My ego is definitely locked on to other people's thoughts and opinions and people who were important to me. And that's what I think I've found the most difficult to let go of. And this person that I loved who hates me, all that bit, when I actually only think that I was a decent person. And, I look back and think, actually, I can't really think of anything that I did badly wrong, really. I'm not perfect, but so that's the bit that I think I've really struggled with, and why I've moved away is just because of these sort of horrible things being said about me. So, and the fear. So, yeah.
So the hero has to leave the normal world, the known world.
Yeah.
And often that means they have to leave the village, the tribe, the community.
Completely started again.
Often in situations that aren't good. They don't leave because they wanted to, because they leave because they have to.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So that's your case, and because that has such a pull. The ego, is a collective entity, and we want to be liked and accepted, and that gives us a sense of belonging, a sense, in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there's the belonging need. But the hero has to go outside of all that. They have to go beyond the confines of the social order that they're in order to find the truth about themselves. It's always an individual journey. They get help and guidance, but heroes are like, okay, I'm going and I'm leaving the village, I'm leaving the tribe, I'm going to do my thing and have this experience. And the sort of general tribe consciousness is going to go, no, what are you doing? Don't do that. Stay in the known world. Stay here. This is good. You don't want to go there. Go on the road, and the journey is dangerous. But the hero, has to do that if they're going to grow.
It's
And then,
it's very painful because, not only did I end up losing my kids, I ended up losing all my family and friends who, I moved 200 miles away, and suddenly I went where I knew nobody, just because some part
mm,
of me was trying to protect some part of me
mm,
from, humiliation and horror, really.
mm.
But it ended up with everybody going. So I don't know if it's my ego trying to protect me as well, or what it was. I don't know. It's very confusing, some of these archetypes and parts and what they're
Mm,
doing. And I feel like I've no idea still. I read what you're saying. I still feel like I'm stuck in the ordeal at number 8, really. Even
mm,
though I've moved on theoretically, I don't emotionally feel like I have.
mm. Yeah, well, the ordeal is it's not just physical; it's mental, emotional, primarily.
Mm,
Um, but that's okay. Hey, the ordeal. You're at number 8. That's all
mm,
right.
mm,
You've gone eight steps down the road. So this
mm.
is good. You're in a process here.
I want to go to number 9. That sounds much more fun.
Yeah, seize the reward.
The next
Um,
3 sound all right.
so letting it all go. What you've come to is you have to let this all go. The hero gets through the difficulty and the challenge by letting go of their own fear,
I do.
their own darkness, and the reward comes when you do that. The reward is peace, love, joy, pure formless awareness. But it can only
Yeah,
come when you can let go of all the darkness.
yeah,
Uh, and it's hard. It's not easy to drop all of that stuff. You're letting go of yourself, what you thought of as yourself,
yeah.
but it wasn't really you. This is
No,
the teaching. It was none of that was really you.
yeah,
And now it's been brought into conscious awareness quite painfully. You've
yeah,
seen it. That's really useful. So it's no longer buried in your subconscious. It's all come up.
yeah,
And now you can go, that is just what a program and what a mind trip. I get it. I see it. I've really done this to myself. But fortunately, none of it is true.
yeah,
Love is true. Beyond all of this, only love is true.
yeah,
And there's a part of your mind that resonates with that knows that that's the truth.
yeah.
Only perfect love is true. So this is just showing me all the things that are not love in my mind and helping me to let them go and to come to the awareness that I am love. Ultimately, that's what it's about, and that's the purpose of your life. That's why you came. So this lesson is a major life lesson for you. The ordeal is necessary in order for the transformation to happen.
I mean, funny enough, since I moved away, I've been working with refugees, so I hear an awful lot of stories of people who've had to leave everything suddenly. So it's interesting how that's arisen out of this situation, because I relate to their stories a lot.
Yeah.
Of their homes being, suddenly lost, and their children being suddenly lost, and their limbs suddenly being lost, or their, the language and the town, the city being destroyed that they lived in. So, I do have quite a sense of, being immersed in that story quite a lot at the moment by tragedy that people have befallen, serious tragedy. I mean, they haven't, I still have my life and my limbs. Many people I meet don't. So,
well, in because of your experience, you now have empathy with them, and in the seed of your dark experience lies your true purpose.
yeah,
Maybe you come out of this and you become a counselor specializing in this kind of thing. That's just an idea. I mean, maybe it's not being a counselor. Who knows? But because you can empathize with them, because you've experienced it,
I can.
yeah, you can now be a much better counselor than someone who's like just had a sort of 9 to 5 job and nothing really too much has gone wrong.
I think
Someone
it's
that can't really empathize and go, well, I don't really get it. I can't. I mean, I can sort of conceptually go, oh, that must be awful, you poor thing. But I haven't really experienced those those kinds of emotions, thoughts and emotions, whereas you have. And so this is how it happens. The seed of your grace is in the darkness that you've had to journey through, and
I
that's
think
universally how this hero's journey works.
I think a lot of them are still in number 8, the ordeal as well, and for an awful lot of them, it's very hard to have the road back home and the resurrection and atonement. So I think what I'm struggling with is a bit they're also struggling with, and so it's like, and that's where I think the teaching maybe comes in, that there is, beyond all those circumstances, you may not get back. You may not get back to your land or your home in physical terms, or your children, or whatever. If you've been, whatever, come from the wrong, a certain place in the world. It's just trying to deal with that, really.
So, well, they may not get there physically, but the whole point is not, it's not about returning to your physical home. The road back home is not your physical home.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
I get that, and I haven't quite.
Home is a spiritual home.
Yeah.
And you return back into society. That doesn't mean you go back to the same place necessarily, but you return back to the known world, and wherever they are, and there your journey continues. And now you can become a teacher and someone who can inspire others on the journey. So that's what's going on for you, and you've got to go, okay, this is all part of the journey. I get it. This is all perfect, and it's happening for me. And if I carry on in this process, if I keep working through and letting go of the darkness, I will get through this ordeal, and I will come out the other side, because that's the archetype. That's how it works. It's a done deal already. That's the hero's journey, provided you don't sabotage it and get stuck in the ordeal state, and you're just willing to keep growing and learning. That's all it requires, a willingness to do that. And the hero's journey, this is what happens, because there's a power we call the Holy Spirit that is greater than the ego, that will help you to do this. And if that power wasn't there, then the hero's journey couldn't exist. You just get stuck in the darkness.
And I think that's what I'm trying to still tap into. That's still the bit. That's why I'm here, I guess, because that's the bit that I am stepping into, that Holy Spirit bit, and not feeling like I'm the most useless failure in the world, or I've got, I've made a mess of my life and made the wrong choices, and because I'm still circling around that in my own head for being an idiot and not seeing the warning signs, and whatever. It's damaged my confidence in myself to have another relationship, or to rest in safety and security. I feel like I'm constantly anxious about what might happen next, what storm might blow up out of nowhere. So I'm left in a sort of slightly traumatized place, I guess, even though I'm getting on with my daily life at one level. I'm building a new life at one level. It still feels like something is damaged and stuck by shock and trauma, really. And letting that bit go. And then when I let that bit go, and that's gone, I totally get that's gone. It's not going to return. I don't want it to return. My life has moved on. My parents have died since then. It's like, other things have happened. I'm on with Todd. But it's like, actually, it's freeing myself to really trust that journey, or enjoy it, or have hope again. That's which I see, all the things you're saying, and I hear what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing. I'm just restating where I'm at, I guess. Yeah.
Well, if you keep doing this process, you've gone to Findhorn for a reason. There's a letting go of all of that darkness that needs to happen.
Yeah.
To move you on. So you're most welcome to join us. That 3-week free trial that I offered, still open, available. Jump in if you want to.
Yeah.
And take the next step.
Yeah.
Because that's all you can do on the journey. The hero learns to trust not himself or herself, but you trust something else. It's like, okay, I'm just feeling something, and I'm not. It goes beyond conscious, rational decision making. As you saw, that's quite shaky. Actually, you thought you had it all covered, and then whoa, where did that come from?
That worked too well.
But that's a good thing, because it's showing you the limits of your ego's decision making.
Yeah.
It really doesn't know very much at all. It's very limited. But there is another power that can guide you.
Yeah.
That is non-rational, that's intuitive, that tells you exactly, where you need to go, who you need to be with. And it's not rational. It'll just say, go there. go there, and you go, I don't know why I'm going there, but it just feels right. So you go there, and then, oh wow, I went there, and then an experience unfolds. I meet someone, and then that's the next stage in my journey. So you start to trust that. Start to trust that power more than the rational self. It's no, no, yes, no, based on what you know, because you actually don't. You know very little.
Yeah.
You've got your own past experience. You have no idea what the future is going to look like.
Yeah.
So it's not a very good basis to make decisions. What
No.
I know, my past experience. Whereas the spirit taps in, like taps into the whole field, and it can see past, future, it can see the whole timeline, and so now it knows like sort of your future. Which leads us kind of directly into today's quote. Actually, it knows
Yeah.
the future, and it'll say, okay, so in order for that future to unfold, do this now.
Yeah.
And it just gives you the impulse to do it now. Then you do it, and then that future then unfolds. Now, we think of it as cause and effect, like linear. Okay, I did this, and then that led to this and this. That's the linear timeline, but actually it's not, because you are tapping in beyond time, and you're going further down the line, and now getting the instruction to do what you need to do now in order for that to then unfold. So it's not linear, because you're actually not stuck on the timeline, whereas the ego
Yeah.
is. The ego can only go past. Okay, we have the present now. Future is very unknown, very uncertain, and it's trying to work that out, and you can't do that rationally.
Yeah. I get that.
The spirit can tap in and say, okay, well, we'll do this now, because I know that in a few months or years, you do this now, then this is going to unfold.
Yeah.
And so you're not now bound into linear time anymore, because you're able to tap in and access now information and guidance that's going to help you for your journey to unfold as it should do, in a very beneficent way.
Yeah.
Down the line. And so this is what Yeshua means when he says, "Trust, I place my future in the hands of God."
Yeah.
Place the future in the hands of God.
Yeah.
Or I trust the future to the power of perfect love,
Yeah.
because this power knows everything. And if you tap into it and you trust it, it's going to tell you now what you need to do in order for your journey to unfold. So you go beyond time. You're not trapped in a linear timeline anymore. You're getting guidance now, downloading that now, that's going to help you for your journey to unfold, so that the future unfolds in the most beneficial way. And that makes you, very powerful, and
Yeah.
and not worried. You don't have to worry about the future. If you go, well, this is fine. The Spirit's got it. I get it. This is all fine. So I trust. Trust is an energy of confidence, of power. There's enormous power in trusting and just being guided. And of course, the ego is fighting that and going, no, 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 drama and trauma, and bringing all of that up to cloud. It's like muddying the waters. It doesn't want you to be able to get so clear that you can just sense the guidance and then take the next step, because it likes the interbulation. It wants you to be in a state of dysfunction and disturbance and all these emotions, going around and confused. That's what it wants. It wants to keep you there. Because that's what it's made up of, a bunch of crazy thoughts and emotions that really have no truth and no validity.
Yeah.
And so these lessons in the course, this is just another daily lesson 194. They just help you day by day to kind of counter the ego and start unraveling it and saying, okay, every day I'm challenging the ego with another idea based on the truth, to let this go and find the truth. And each lesson is an invitation to do that. I entrust the future to the power of perfect love. I place the future in the hands of God, if you prefer the more traditional version of that. If you really live that, you are tapping in, you're downloading, you're guided. Fear disappears. Fear and worry will disappear if you really get this lesson. So each lesson is, really profound invitation into another transcendent dimension. So, I'd encourage you, if you don't have a regular spiritual practice, this gives you that, gives you a structure to work through these things systematically, progressively. Every day there's a lesson, there's a structure. You're like, okay, I'm doing this, and because this is the most important thing in your life is to deal with what's arising now, all of this ego distraction and difficulty, because that's how your life's going to move forward. So it's a number one priority. So this is what I need to be doing every day to let this go, because that's what's going to move my life forward more quickly than anything else.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's just backtrack a bit. There's a quote which I'm going to ask you to read, and then we'll go into just a couple of paragraphs of teaching around the hero's journey, and then we'll go into the lesson. So if you want to read the quote, this is a translation of Psalm 23 from the Old Testament of the Bible. So the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. So this is my translation using our alternative language. So see how it works for you as you read it.
I'll give it a go. I read it, yeah?
Yeah.
Pure, formless awareness of perfect love is my guide, and so I shall not want for anything. It helps me to rest in the pastures of eternal life and leads me beside the still waters of my being. It restores my soul and leads me in the ways of right-mindedness, in the identity of my true self. Although I walk through the valley of the shadow of death in this world, I fear no evil, for the pure, formless awareness of perfect love is with me, and its discipline and support comfort me. It prepares a table of abundance in the presence of my seeming enemies and blesses me with its beneficence, so my cup runs over.
So how does that sit with you?
Well, it feels like I want quite a large cup of this pure, formless awareness of perfect love. In fact, I want a big litre full tankard of it.
Well, there's no limit to it.
Okay, I want a whole.
There is no limit to it. So the only thing that's blocking it is you.
Yeah.
It's
the
ego's thoughts and emotions that block it.
I can see I've become a bit cynical about all of these things and spirit and everything over recent years, not just because of the circumstances I've described to you, but there's a part of me that's very cynical, and I can see that gets very much in the way of this belief or this state of mind. I've become quite cynical. I don't like it in myself, but I observe it in myself.
Yeah. So you doubt. Basically, your cynicism saying, nah, this.
Whatever.
It's all words. Yeah, whatever. It's all sounds.
State of the world. If it worked, blah blah. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So that cynicism is the ego's defense against this presence, because it knows if you really allow this in, then it's game over. It's not going to be able to sustain in your mind. Cynicism and doubt and fear and confusion and worry, all disappear in the power of this presence. And so this is the greatest enemy of the ego. So it's going to deny it. It's going to go, oh, well, I don't need any of this rubbish. It's all hey chihuahua, woo woo, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Because you don't actually, the ego doesn't want you to experience it. A state of true abundance where you really feel it. You're feeling deep connection with your source. The love's flowing through. You're living in an enlightened way. You're living in a Yeshua said, and you shall have abundant life. That's what he meant. It's like a sense of abundance just in your daily experience. Like I'm having a rich experience of life. I'm connecting with people. I'm feeling peace. I'm feeling love. I'm feeling joy. Those thoughts and emotions, states of being, are really what make the abundance. Your physical circumstances don't make that abundance. You can have no money. You can have lots of money. There are people with lots of money and they have no abundance because their thinking is really limited. You might have met some of them. And you can have people with very little and they have an abundant experience of life because their inner world is at peace. And they are grateful. And you can see that in the poorer circumstance. You go to some parts of the world where people are extremely poor, and yet they live a more abundant life than someone stuck in a multi-million-dollar apartment in London or New York who's got all the toys and the bells and the whistles, but feels really disconnected from their source, other people, and often there's various dysfunctions playing out in that person's life as well, because they don't. So they have material abundance, but that's so-called abundance, but that's not really what we're talking about here. It's the experience, and this presence will give you that experience if you allow it in, Chris. You have to allow it in. It cannot come if you block it and you're cynical and you say no, I don't believe in it. It can only come if you're really open to it. You open your heart and you allow this to come in and flow through you. But what I say to you is, well, what are your options really? Because it should be very obvious to you by now that the ego doesn't work.
Sure, it doesn't.
It doesn't work. It's just pain, more pain, suffering, variations of pain, suffering, misery, and ultimately death. All of this takes you in one direction. To the death of the body, and then you go, well, what's the point of all of that?
Yeah.
Life of pain and suffering and misery, and then you die. It's all pretty desperate. So you'll never find salvation. You'll never find any kind of truth or awakening or love or inspiration in that thought system. It lies beyond.
It's a funny situation as well, because in one way or another, I've lost all of my family, my siblings, my parents, my stepkids, my wife. I don't have anybody anymore. And actually, there is an abundance in as much as I'm completely free to be or do what I wish. Which is, some people will be a bit devastated about that, but I don't actually feel that devastated about it. I mean, obviously it's sad at the time, but generally speaking, it also feels like, crikey, I can recreate and reinvent myself to be who I want without the feeling that someone else very close to you is expecting you to be a certain way.
You've been given the freedom to do this journey.
Yeah.
To really do the hero's journey, and there will be a return. You'll come back, and maybe some of those relationships will start up again. You don't know, but there's other people.
Other people.
It's moving beyond the special relationships. Special relationships are those relationships that are special to us, often biological. Our biological family. We're born into those relationships, or partners. We choose those relationships. So these are special people, and the ego uses those special relationships to enslave us. It keeps us in our bondage through that, because those relationships, if they're not holy, those relationships then are used to keep you in your ego patterns. The other person triggers it, and then you get triggered, and now the ego arises, and you get caught up in the ego drama.
It's true.
And, so now you've been given the opportunity to really transcend that, to really go deeply into this true self. Find it, and return eventually, and maybe some of those relationships will rekindle, or maybe they won't, but it doesn't really matter, because there will be other people. If you really become the hero, there will be other people who come into your life who you can really help.
Yes.
The spirit wants you to help and bless others to go on the hero's journey, so it'll direct you to those whom you can help most, and then your life takes on meaning and purpose. So you go, well, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing here.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to do this hero's journey. I'm supposed to help others on the hero's journey. That's what really the purpose of my life is. So all of this has happened. You go, it was all necessary in order for that purpose to reveal itself. So it wasn't bad, or something I should be upset about. It's actually really good.
Yeah,
Okay, so if you want to read, we just got a couple of paragraphs to read. So today's inspirational quote,
which is Psalm 23 from the Old Testament of the Bible, translated into our alternative AOLG language, highlights some of the many benefits of trusting God or pure formless awareness of perfect love to guide you through your life in this world. The quote points out, trusting this presence is a key to letting go of the idea and experience of scarcity, sacrifice, loss, and death, and the fear that eagerly sponsors all these false beliefs and emotions. Therefore, trusting this powerful presence of perfect love that's still in your mind is also the key to receiving guidance about what to do and allowing abundance, peace, eternal life, miracles, the true self or Christ identity, and freedom from fear and conflict to enter your life and bless you with their beneficence.
Okay, so let's pause it
Sounds
there.
good to
So,
me.
so any thoughts on that?
Sounds good to me. I put my hand up for that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you just did. You joined today. So what I encourage you to do is take the next step. You can join every day if you like for the next, except Saturdays, for the next 3 weeks, and really immerse yourself in this and say, okay, I'm up for this. I want to do this. I want to clear away some of these blocks and allow this presence to come through, very strongly, because this will heal me and this will move me forward in my life. And what else am I going to do? There's no more important task than to let go of these false beliefs and emotions that are enslaving you. Because when you do that, that allows the miracles. Miracles are just corrections in your own mind to unfold for you, and that takes you on your journey. So it will release the blocks, and yeah, I think if you did do the 3 weeks, I think you'll be quite astonished at what happens. 3 week immersion, doing this process, and you'll see, and that's your hero's journey. It's experiencing it. You have to go through it and experience it for yourself. So it's up to you. Always you have a choice, but the opportunity is there. There's no accident we met. There's no accident I came to Finhorn. None of this is accidental. There's no accident you're here today. This is all part of this process that you're in, of this unfolding journey. And so, listen to the guidance. What does it tell you to do? Because it's never wrong. This powerful presence of perfect love comes into our minds as a memory. We remember this presence. We remember that state of being. And it inspires us. It gives us the guidance to do what we need to do. For it's unfolding. It wants to arise more and more in our minds. It wants to become us. And so it's giving us the guidance to allow that to happen, moment by moment. And have, what Yeshua calls a happy dream on this hero's journey. So the second part of the hero's journey is where the happy dream starts. You go through the death and the rebirth, letting go of the ego. You come out as a transformed person. This is a pretty good part of the journey. This is where you access these states of higher awareness, flow, love, peace, joy flowing through you, sense of at-one-ment with all people and things. You have gifts and powers and abilities that you can now return to your life or the normal world, and really bless people with these things. And so now you've got your true purpose. From not really knowing what your purpose was, being a family man, and you look at that full cycle journey, it's pretty amazing actually how that transformation has worked, and you've lived through it. So this isn't theoretical anymore. It's experiential. You go, yeah, but I know the hero's journey because I've walked the path. As Morpheus says in the Matrix to Neo, he says there's a difference between knowing the path, so intellectually, theoretically, and walking the path. You actually have to walk the path of the hero's journey. It's not a theoretical exercise. It's walking it in your own life. And that's, then you can help others, teach others from your own experience. And they will resonate with that because they go, okay, clearly, there's some depth there. This isn't just book knowledge. This is something this person clearly, understands on a deep level and can help me with. Yeah, so it's all good. That's what's unfolding for you. You're kind of right here, number 8, ordeal in the heart of the transformation, which is necessary. You have to go through all of this to get here for the transformation to happen. Okay, so any questions, comments on the hero's journey? I encourage you to read, there's a little bonus article I put in there. So it's only 5 pages, and you can read the unpacking of hero's journey, and then it references to movies. The Wizard of Oz, The Hobbit, Star Wars, The Lion King, The Ordinary World. And you see how this plays out in these movies as an example. So really helpful to have the examples as well. Okay, so Sally, any questions? Should we just dive into the lesson then?
No questions yet. Let's dive in.
Let's dive into the lesson. So I place the future in the hands of God. There's this one. Okay, so place the future in the hands of God. So let's just get 193. We just what we do, Chris, is we do a little translation of this. So we're translating the original language of the Course in Miracles into just more accessible language, just like I did for this biblical quote.
A lot of work you've done rewriting it all.
Hey?
It's a lot of work rewriting it all that you've done.
Well, yeah, but we are just doing it systematically. We do it in these sessions. So
okay.
And Word is great, replace Word. Sometimes we do that, but I haven't done that yet. So you'll see as we go how this works. So read the original, and then we'll let Sally go first. So Sally can demonstrate because she's been doing this for a few months. Sally, maybe you just want to share your experience, because I think it's a really valuable experience of when you joined the Art of Letting Go. What was it, 5 months ago, whenever, 4 months ago, and then your approach to the 3-week free trial, because I think it's a good inspirational, being something that inspires Chris.
Well, I wasn't looking for another teacher. I wasn't looking for any other groups or anything, but somebody invited me along to an evening session, and I could immediately see there was something here for me. But I was doing a lot of other courses and a lot of other events, and I was juggling a lot of things that I was interested in, but it was too much to do it all. So I decided to give the 3-week trial my 100% attention. So I gave up all the other groups and courses and practices, like I was doing TM and parts of different groups, and so I just stopped it and concentrated on the 3-week trial, and it paid dividends. I felt happy, I felt joyous, I felt amazing, and it was quite revolutionary for me. There's ups and downs. Not saying everyone feels joyous in the first few weeks, but I certainly did. I felt like, yes, this is it. So it's really worth stopping all my other courses and groups and giving 100% to this, because it's very, it offers a lot from lots of different angles. So yeah, it served me very well, and it's as many days as I can, I get on here, even if for a couple of hours, and it tops me up and puts me back on track. It reminds me, and when I do it 4 times a week, I notice like I'm on a wave of support somehow. It just carries me through the week beautifully. So yeah, highly recommend it.
Thanks, Sally. Yeah, I mean, I think what you did there was really good. You just shelved everything else. You said, okay, let me do this for 3 weeks, give it its fair trial. That's what it's about. And if after 3 weeks it hasn't worked, well, you can always go back to whatever else you were doing. But because you immersed yourself in it, you really got a lot of benefit. There's other people who've joined and they haven't really done that. They haven't really committed. And of course, there's only you're only going to get the benefit that you're open to. If you never show up for live sessions, if you don't engage with the material, well, of course, the free trials aren't really going to work for you, is it? It does require your effort and willingness. So yeah, I'd really encourage you, Chris, dive in and just really give it a go. If you're not working, and I'm sure you've got some other things, but if you can make a couple of hours a day to do these live sessions, and then start doing some practice around it in the mornings. I send you a whole schedule. So in this, I'll show you very briefly. In this email, if you go further down, there's a whole daily schedule. So with meditation, so you can do a meditation, different lengths in the morning, and then you can say an essence statement. So you can, if you just follow this every day for 3 weeks. If you did this, I can promise you, in 3 weeks' time, you're not going to be in the same state of mind as you are now. It's profoundly transformational.
I'll see what I do. I am working, so I'll have to see what I can do. It's time is a challenge. Yeah.
So you fits it in accordingly. But if you can make some time,
so I've got some time.
If you can make some time in the mornings to do it, and you can make time at lunchtime.
I read the stuff you send every day. I do read the
oh, that's good.
Stuff you send every day. Yeah.
So that's a start. And then actually doing the meditations, listening to the breath breaks. If you can't join the live session, listen to the recording, because if you join the free trial, I'll add you to the Telegram group, and then you can get the recording, so you can listen to that later in the day. So there's a lot of material there, and the idea of the free trial is you work out how you can engage with this, what's actually workable, sustainable for you, and you see if it can fit into your life. And then after 3 weeks, that's a fair enough time to experience it. You'll know, okay, yes, this program's for me, I'd like to continue, or no, this didn't work for me, so thanks but no thanks. And either way is okay. There's people who do both. Obviously, we'd love you to join, but if you don't, then you don't, and the door's always open at a future time. There's no sense of obligation. You don't have to do anything, but this is happening anyway, so why not tap into it? Do this every day, and by participating, I've seen Sally, probably the most regular person at the moment, joining, and you get the benefits, Sally, because you're joining. Like, the interactivity of these sessions is more powerful than a recording, because you're actually interacting and engaging, and you're telling your story, and often getting shifts that are personal to you. As you can see, I mean, there's only 2 people. Sometimes there's 3, 4, just depends. But there's small groups. It's pretty small and intimate. Yeah, so that's an example of the email, and then you get a Telegram message. So it's all there for you, and then you customize your own program. You go, okay, so there's all the material. Okay, so what can I do? What works for me? How much time do I have? And you pick what works for you, and you create your own program out of that. So don't think you have to do all of it, but this is the ideal. So then out of the ideal, you pick and choose and go, okay, what can I do? And maybe try different things in the 3 weeks and see what works.
What I found worked for me was to do the Telegram group, because that's a kind of more concise, a smaller package of stuff. And I'd do that every morning, and I've started going to bed early, so I wake up early, because I find if I don't do it first thing, it just gets lost in the day, busyness stuff. And so I wake up early, I do a couple of hours in the morning, sets me up for the day, and do as many breath breaks as I can. And then if I've got extra time over, I go onto the email and do the extra theta meditations and things, and pick up a bit more information. But I can appreciate when somebody starts and looks at the email, there's a lot there. And it can be like, whoa, too much to do, I don't have time to do it. But actually, if you gradually add one of the practices in at a time, actually they become habits, and then they become your new way of being, don't they?
Yeah. And you customize your own program. So I'm giving you the whole thing. I'm not dumbing it down and saying, okay, well, I only give you this and this and this. I'm giving you the whole thing. Like if you really wanted to spend 8 hours a day doing it, you could. But then you pick and choose and go, okay, yeah, well, that works for me today. I'll do a live session. Yeah, I have a bit of time, so I'll do the half an hour theta meditation. Maybe I'll do a breath break. I'll use the breath break in the day a couple of times. I'll do the live session, and at the end of that, you might have done 3 hours of spiritual practice that you wouldn't have done otherwise. Well, that's that's going to shift you. Spending the time. So it's a structure that allows you to can flow within it and be flexible, but it's gonna help you to do a lot more spiritual practice probably than you otherwise would have done. And the spiritual practice is what's going to shift the ego and move you on in your journey. So yeah, have a think about it and let me know your thoughts after this.
I just need to say I've got to go in about 10 minutes. Just need to say that.
Okay, so we might have time to do one paragraph then for you. So let's have a look at this. So I place the future in the hands of God.
I'm not seeing it on the screen yet.
Here's the key idea. My translation of that is, I entrust the future to the power of. Aren't you? No?
Not seeing it.
Okay.
No.
Right, let's try the share thing again.
You're breaking up for me, Jonathan.
How's that?
No.
Can you see it?
No.
You see it now?
No.
There. See this?
It sounded like Rolf Harris there for a bit.
Oh,
Can you see
okay.
it yet?
Screen. I wonder if it's my internet. What's happening? Is it a blank screen or?
It just says you've started screen
blank
sharing.
screen, or what are you seeing?
Just the words. You've started screen
Right.
sharing.
Okay, I'm back. Let's try screen sharing again. Just cut my video. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
Entrust the future to the power of perfect love.
Yep.
Okay. So Sally, if you want to read number 1,
Okay.
the original, and then we'll go into the translation.
Today's idea takes another step toward quick salvation, and a giant stride it is indeed. So great the distance is that it encompasses, it sets you down just short of heaven, with the goal in sight and obstacles behind. Your foot has reached the lawns that welcome you to heaven's gate, the quiet place of peace where you will await with certainty the final step of God. How far are we progressing now from earth? How close are we approaching to our goal? How short the journey still to be pursued? And then alternatively, today's idea takes another quick step towards salvation, which is awakening.
Yeah. So there's certain key terms that we use. You'll get the hang of it if you do this. An alternative language. So instead of salvation, which is Christian in kind of in its orientation, we call it awakening. Is much more universal. With quick awakening. A giant stride it is indeed.
So great the distance is that it encompasses, it sets you down just short of heaven, which is the state of pure formless awareness.
And we also just make the language a bit more understandable. So the distance that it encompasses is so great. Just to make it a bit more accessible, a bit more kind of normal language. The distance that it encompasses is so great. Just short of heaven. So what's heaven, Sally?
The state of pure formless awareness.
So heaven isn't the place, heaven is a state of mind. Where you're in this pure formless awareness. The goal in sight and obstacles behind.
That sounds good, doesn't it?
No, well, very appropriate for you, Chris. The goal's there, heaven is there, all the obstacles you've gone through on the hero's journey are behind you. So he's talking about here the state of at-one-ment. Which interesting, figures in the hero's journey. Atonement or at-one-ment is what Yeshua calls this whole process. And that same word is used in the hero's journey. You come to a state of at-one-ment where you recognize that you are one with your source and you're one with everything the source created, which is all life. And this is the state he's referring to here. Okay.
So your foot has reached the lawns that welcome you to heaven's gate. How would you translate that then? Would you say state of pure formless awareness again? Welcome you to, or would you say heaven's gate because everybody understands what that means?
Yeah, I think let's try and be consistent. Welcome to heaven's gate. So heaven is the state of pure formless awareness that welcome you to
How about enlightenment's gate?
Yeah, you could, but terms heaven is a state of mind. It's a state of pure formless awareness. So we try and stay consistent across the whole text because he's using these terms all the time. Reach the lawns that welcome you to the state of pure formless awareness.
Enlightenment gate sounds like a political situation.
Yeah, I know. To the state of pure formless awareness. So it's just a state of mind. That's all.
Good.
Welcome you to the gate of the state of pure form.
Doesn't go, does it?
All right. There we go. We'll just do that. Welcome you to the gate of pure formless awareness. That works.
Okay. The quiet place of peace where you await with certainty the final step of God, which is pure formless awareness.
So God we translate as pure formless awareness of perfect love, but that's a bit clumsy if we've already got an of there. Final step of. So let me just say the final step of perfect love.
How far are we progressing now from Earth? How close are we approaching to our goal? How short the journey is still to be pursued?
That's so interesting. Chris,
the word earth in it. I've never heard earth come up in this translation ever before.
Yeah. He doesn't often use it. So how far are we progressing now from Earth? So your old identity, is being left behind. That's what this is showing you. You're progressing from that old identity, the known world. And how close are we approaching to our goal, which is this transcendent state of awareness? How short the journey is still to be pursued. I mean, this is just perfect for you, Chris. Can you see it?
Very short. I'm very happy for it to be short.
Yeah. Well, he's giving encouragement. He's saying actually there isn't. If you've already gone through this whole drama, the hero's journey,
I've had enough. Oh, I'm ready to get there now.
you're
Oh, you're cutting out, John.
on the edge.
You're breaking up, Jonathan.
Breaking up, John. Oh dear, he's left Earth. That's the trouble.
He's too high
It's
vibe
only
for
a
this.
start journey. He's been channeled into another.
You're on the
back.
Stop it. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm really sorry. I'm going to go now. I've got 2 visitors arriving.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, nice to see you.
Nice to see
All right,
you.
Chris. So all I'll say is, if you'd like to join us, then just
Thank
let me
you.
know. You've got my mobile number. Let me know if you'd like to join us for the free trial.
Yeah.
And I hope to see you in the room again soon.
Thank you, and I hope you enjoy Colchester being a city. Sally became a
Yes.
city recently, didn't it? So you should all be
That's right.
super religious and enlightened now. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, Chris.
Bye.
All right. So any thoughts on paragraph 1?
It did feel like it was talking to Chris, didn't it?
Yeah. Perfect lesson for him.
Yeah.
Perfect message for him before he went.
Yeah, and perfect. That was the last thing before he left. Yeah.
So that's how the Spirit works. It's just amazingly synchronistic.
Yeah, I've noticed. So when it says your foot has reached the lawns, what would that mean? Does it just mean like you're stepping forward and?
Yeah. So the imagery is you've come on this journey. You're on the lawns. And lawns is kind of lawns are typically associated with peace and kind of nice open expansive area. So you've gone through the hard yards of the journey. The gate is right there. There's the lawns in front of Heaven's Gate, and that's kind of where you are. You're in a state of rest and peace, and Heaven's Gate is right there, and you're ready to walk through into this enlightened state of pure formless awareness.
So instead of a bumpy path, it's a lawn.
Yeah.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah,
so when your foot steps on it, it's all soft and supportive.
Yeah, exactly. And it sort of brings to mind like, a nice open, expansive lawn area, and then, there's grass, and people can sit down and lie on the grass. They can have picnics. It's comfortable. Some of these journeys, if you watch movies, these things are visually demonstrated. They go through the difficulties, and then you like in what's it, Lord of the Rings, they arrive after their journey at the Rivendell, the elvish place, and it's like, oh, beautiful, lawns and rivers, and everything's, and so it's like rest from the hard journey. So he's saying to us, actually, a lot of this hero's journey, a lot of the trials and the tribulations are behind you, and you're actually ready now for this state of pure formless awareness. And ready to accept it and fully experience it. Goal in sight, the obstacles are behind, and encouraging us, really. He's also in this course. He's doing a lot of kind of motivational work, isn't he? He's saying, well, actually, you're closer than you think. Keep going, because he has to encourage us, because he knows that the ego's there with its difficulties and its stories. He's saying, actually, you've come further than you think you have, and just keep going. This state's going to reveal itself. Okay, so you said you had 2 hours. It's now 10 past. Do you want to go into a meditation, or do you want to do a couple more paragraphs?
I'll do a couple more paragraphs, I think.
And then do a med.
Yeah, go on then.
You can push it a little bit beyond the 2 hour mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think just read the alternative in grey, and then we'll translate as we go.
Accept today's idea. You have passed all anxiety, all pits of hell. Do we translate hell, or do we
Yeah. What is hell? Do you remember?
victimhood, or
Yeah.
past all anxiety, all pits of victimhood? Oh, yeah, okay.
But it's quite accurately described, because it is like a dark pit in your mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, poor me. You've sunk in the pit of your own victimhood. All blackness of depression. So he's been quite graphic about, this, how the ego looks.
Yeah, fair enough. All pits of victimhood, all blackness of depression, thoughts of sin and devastation brought about by guilt.
Okay. So
Okay.
not a pretty picture.
No, not at all. Accept today's idea, and you have released the world from all imprisonment by loosening the heavy chains that lock the door to freedom on it. You are saved. Your salvation.
So you are saved, yes.
You are saved. We change saved, do we?
Yeah.
Don't know.
Well,
if salvation is awakening,
yes, you work it out.
What's so if awakening's the gift, you are saved. You are awoken. I don't know.
You're awakened. Yeah, you're awakened.
Why?
You are
awakened. Okay, you are awakened, and you're awakening. Thus becomes the gift you give the world because you have received. You are awakened, and your awakening thus becomes the gift you give the world. Oh, I see, because you have received. Okay. Yeah.
Because you have awoken, you can now give awakening.
Yeah.
Because you can't give a gift that you don't have.
Yeah, so you need to go into the pit of hell for a while to be able to come out like the hero's journey, and then be able to teach from that journey. Yeah,
well, he's just framing here in words what the hero's journey is, isn't it? You've been through all of this darkness, the pits of victimhood, blackness, depression, thoughts of sin, devastation brought about by guilt. This is the abyss, facing the ego, and then overcoming it. He's saying this is all behind you. You've gone through this, you've let this go, and you're now moving into revelation at 1 minute. And because you are awakened, your awakening becomes the gift you give the world because you have received. Well, there we go. There's the gift right there. So this is, you can see that Joseph Campbell has tapped into a universal archetype. And this happens in all spiritual teachings, all traditions. It's the same journey. Yeshua's just framing it here for us in words.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, I like the idea of, you do your work and then you're able to pass that along the line, sort of thing, aren't you? You become one of the helpers for someone else going into the dark abyss.
Yeah, exactly. Because what else is there really to do with your life? Once you come to the awakening stage, you go, okay, like I get that the known world, everything that I believed when I was here, none of that's actually true or real. I can't really value that anymore. Having been through this experience, you go, the only purpose of my life and every human life is to do this journey. That's the only reason why we're here. So that's the one reason. So let me dedicate my life to serving that purpose. Because what else is there to do while I'm here? And then you find your true purpose, and that plays out on the level of form as a function. Often it's a teaching function, teaching, healing. Because what else is there to do with your time while you're here? You realize there's nothing else that's really important. And then you live your life on purpose.
Well, when you're teaching, you're learning as well, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the more you teach this, the more you learn it. This is your own unfolding journey. So the next iteration, because you might do several of these journeys, the next iteration might be, okay, now I've come back, and then there's another call to adventure, and maybe that involves more like going out and teaching. So Yeshua did his hero's journey, and he went and he did his 40-day fast, meditation, prayer in the desert, and he comes out and he returns to the normal world, and then he's called to go on his ministry and do his ministry for 3 years. So then he has another journey, and he cycles through that again, and he goes through the crucifixion resurrection drama, and returns now as the resurrected self, literally, again. So he did a couple of cycles of this hero's journey in his life, and because he did that, he inspired others, and it still inspires others to do the same thing.
Do people only do 1 or 2 then? Because I feel like I've done about 5.
Well, but potentially you could do a number in your life, several. You go through one cycle of it, and you go, okay, well now I've really got this. But actually, there's still more learning to go through. Yeshua he did the 1 cycle, so he's now the Christ, but he still had another lesson to go through. That was the whole crucifixion drama that had to play out, where he literally demonstrated this. He died physically and then resurrected physically to show that that death has no power. So
are there not also like small hero journeys, like yesterday felt like a hero's journey just in itself, like little mirrors in a small scale? Because you have a day, don't you, where you get into a challenging situation and it feels like hell, and then you break through and you go, oh, I see the learning. Oh, goodness, I've had it turned out all right.
Yeah. Each little situation is a miniature of the bigger thing. Whenever you've gone through a trial, you've let go, and you've come out the other side, you've done the hero's journey as in that situation, which obviously is then taking you on the larger journey, because as you keep doing that, you keep doing this process, you're letting go and you're transcending, that moves you on overall in your life. So each little miracle is a miniature of the hero's journey.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. Yeah, that's true.
Is a nice way of thinking about it. So it's just a conception that Joseph Campbell saw a pattern that seems to be true, that's universal, that describes how this journey of life really works. And we're seeing it again in A Course in Miracles, because he just basically told us, here's the hero's journey in this paragraph. If we drew that out, you'd draw something like Joseph Campbell drew. So he came up with it because he looked at all of these kinds of teachings and he said, well, this is kind of the universal pattern that they all talk about, and then just framed it. Okay, so happy with that. Shall we
yep. Thank you.
Move swiftly on to the next one. Okay, so in no one instant.
In no one instant is depression felt, or pain experienced, or loss perceived. In no one instant sorrow can be set upon a throne and worshipped faithfully. In no one instant can one even die. And so each instant given unto God, which is pure formless awareness of perfect love, in passing, next one given him, it.
One sec, given to the next one, given it already.
Time of your release from sadness, pain, and even death itself.
So this is what he's saying, exactly what we just said. It's like in a situation where you let go and you go into pure formless awareness. It's a miniature of the whole hero's journey. In each instant you can do this. This is the time of your release from sadness, pain, and even death itself. All of the trials and tribulations of the journey disappear. In no one instant, sorrow can be set upon a throne and worshipped faithfully. Does that need a bit of translation? Let's just change that around, I think. In no one instant can sorrow be set upon a throne and worshipped faithfully. We'll keep the imagery, I quite like that. Worshipped. So you're putting sorrow on some kind of pedestal and worshipping it, which means to give it worth. Remember, the root word of worship is worth. So you value it, you give it worth in your mind.
Yeah.
No one instant. No. One instant in no. How about present moment instead of one instant? In no one instant, in no present moment can one even die. Okay, so he's pointing us beyond death. Saying even if your body was dying, you're not really dying. Actually, what's happening is you're just transcending the form, letting go of the form that seems to contain your mind.
What's coming up in my mind is when you give birth to a child, all that pain and all that suffering, and you might think you're going to die at some point. And then once you're in pure formless awareness, perfect love, holding the baby, it kind of wipes out all that memory of all that pain. And you know, maybe you've not had that experience quite the same way, but you know, women often talk about how you forget all about it, and then you do another one. You have another pregnancy and you do another birth, and the same thing happens. It's like you have all that suffering, that moment, and because you're so focused on love at the end of it, it just wipes out.
Yeah.
Which is quite amazing, really, because I mean, you know, some people hold on to the story, I suppose, but yeah, just that was a new thought for me, that's why we forget the drama of it all, because it's so, that love for a new child is so all-encompassing.
And you could argue, you know, if you didn't have that, then the human race wouldn't survive, because every woman would do it once. They go, oh my God, no, never again. I'm not going to do it again. That was the most horrific experience of my life. Never again. And so you'd have two people and there'd only be one replacement. So the population would just keep, think about it. Yeah. So, you know, in order to replace or grow, you have to have a mechanism where the woman will go, no, actually it wasn't so bad. You know, I'm willing to do it again and again. Some women have had like 10 children. You go, my God, I can't even conceive. But obviously there's, you know, there's something beyond the pain that must get them to do it. And maybe it's the, you know, that moment where you hold the baby and it's like, there's just connection and there's love. And that's so amazing that all of the difficulty was worth it. Oh, very interesting.
And the other thing that's coming to mind is how babies in an orphanage that didn't have any love, they said the babies died because they didn't have the love.
Yeah.
I wonder how that ties in with the Course in Miracles, because if they already are love, the people looking after them must have perceived them not as love, as discarded babies or something. And so in their perception, the child was dying. Some form, that it was worthless, so they let it go out of their perception. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. So, you know, a lack of love is hugely detrimental. They've done research, especially in those. Well, it is throughout life. I mean, lack of love, you know, is the trauma of the world. A lack of love in whatever form. But for kids, it's particularly difficult because they don't necessarily have any emotional resiliency. You know, they haven't built the skills to be able to go, okay, well, I can frame it like this, and I can reframe, and I can let it go, and they don't know how to do that. So it just really affects them, and it can be deeply imprinted in their psyche. Oh, I'm not valuable. I'm not loved, and that, you know, that belief then plays out throughout their life if it's been very prevalent in their first years of life. So they're pretty vulnerable. But there's always the opportunity, even if that's happened to you at a young age. There are orphans. I mean, Wayne Dyer was an orphan, you know that.
Yeah.
And so, he made some different choices, and he used that as a catalyst for his growth and his awakening. He didn't go, I'm a victim forever. That was actually the catalyst for his life to, become a teacher and a healer. So, you can choose to respond to the difficulty in one of two ways. You either become the victim, you go, oh, this is terrible and awful and poor me, and my life's going to be a mess forever. Or you go, okay, this was there for a reason. It's all about my learning. It's actually happened for me. And some of the most amazing people, amazing teachers, healers, have come from really broken homes, situations, enormous life difficulty, and they've come out of that. And now, because they've walked the path, they've done the hero's journey, they can be an inspiration to others. So, classic hero's journey stuff. Okay, so any thoughts on number 3?
No, the thing that was coming to mind was about Wayne Dyer, about how his anger covered up the love. I don't know if you remember the story about how angry he was at his father, and like he just couldn't see past that, could he? And then somehow he let that go, and then the love appeared. Or I can't remember how it actually happened for him, but it unfolded, didn't it? And there he is now. Well, not now, because he's in the other side, isn't he? But he was just sitting on the stage sharing that love, wasn't he? He was like beaming love. You could feel it.
So he went through his own ordeal. His own hero's journey was, okay, so I've been abandoned by my father, and given up for, he had to go into an orphanage, and my early part of my life's pretty awful. And so he's holding all this anger and resentment, and then I think he went to his father's grave, and he was sitting there, and he was like, he had such rage coming up. But that, because he felt it so intensely, it allowed him to kind of drop it, and he had an experience where he let it go. He went through the to the other side, and went, actually, he just did the best he could. He did what he knew how to do, and he's dead now anyway. For me to judge him is crazy, and hold this anger for the rest of my life is crazy. So there was a forgiveness, there was a letting go, and then he went away for 2 weeks, and he wrote his first bestseller in 2 weeks, immediately after that. So that was then the catalyst for his, the unfolding of his journey. If he hadn't let go, he would never have written that book, and his whole career wouldn't have unfolded as it did. So, the power of one moment. This is what the power of the hero's journey. One moment of true letting go, of like really accessing the grace that lies beyond the ego, can completely change your life, transform your whole world. Just that moment. And so, that moment of the shift happening changes one's entire life, and puts you on this hero's journey. So you're one moment away, you're one instant away. So what Yesh was saying, from letting it all go and starting afresh. And you never know when that profound moment is going to be. But if you keep letting go, showing up and saying, well, my only job here is to let go, then you're in the field of transformation. That moment is much more likely to happen if you're consciously letting go than if you're not. Okay, so you want to do another paragraph, or should we go into a meditation?
Should we do a meditation?
Okay, so just making yourself comfortable, sitting feet shoulder width apart, back straight, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose, So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale. So as usual, just check in, scan your mind, noticing any thoughts, any emotions, any sensations going on for you, particularly anything that feels negative, limiting, contracted, constricting in any way, shape or form. Breathe into it, create some space, spacious awareness surrounding it. Another deep breath in. Just observe thoughts, emotions, any physical sensations that they lead to going on in your mind. If there's anything that's out of accord with love, it's a lack of love, feels difficult, painful, negative, contracted in your body, feeling tight, contracted, breathe into it again. Remind yourself of today's lesson. I place the future in the hands of God, or I entrust the future to the power of perfect love, if you prefer. So usually any distress, there's some kind of future, past future channel going on. Even if it's something in the past that you seem to be holding on to, what that tells you is then the future is going to be like the past. So there's a future idea that things are going to get worse, that you're going to be somehow threatened, challenged, and so this lesson just asks you to let that all go and trust that it's all going to be okay, that this power that's guiding you in your life is going to help you. So you exhale, just blowing it all out, letting it all go. Breathe in your breath, the breeze of your breath. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just rest here in peace and stillness for a few moments. Peace of pure formless awareness. There's really nowhere else to go, and there's nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe. Just breathing in and out through your nose. Observe the subtle sensations of the breath flowing in and flowing out. Notice how the stomach rises, the chest rises. Focus all your attention on the very subtle sensation in the nostrils. How does it feel when the air flows in and the air flows out? Maybe you notice the touch of the breath in the area just below your nose, between your nose and your upper lip. Notice that to bring you into the present moment. So by focusing all your attention on the breath, you're bringing your mind into the present moment. And in the present moment, this is where you can experience the shifts, the changes, the corrections, the miracles, whatever you want to call them, in your mind. That reveal more of God, more of pure formless awareness, of perfect love. So just keep the breath flowing as you listen to me reading the rest of today's lesson, 194. Yeshua's commentary on this profound idea that I place the future in the hands of God, or I entrust the future to the power of pure formless awareness, power of perfect love. So he says, God or pure formless awareness of perfect love holds your future as he or it holds your past and present. They are one to him or it, and so they should be one to you. The past and present are really one. They merge. They don't truly exist. Yet in this world, the temporal progression, linear time, still seems real. And so you're not asked to understand the lack of sequence really found in time. You're only asked to let the future go and place it in God's hands. Place it in and trust it to the power of perfect love. And you will see by your experience that you have laid the past and the present in his hands as well. You have entrusted past and present to this power of perfect love. Because the past will punish you no more. So you let it go. There's no guilt, no sin, just an experience. And you've let go of all the negative emotional feeling around those past experiences. And future dread will now be meaningless because just this presence of perfect love is guiding you. You recognize that it can guide you flawlessly in every circumstance. So how could you dread something when you know you have this perfect love with you always that will help you to stay calm and present and focused in the way you described that situation yesterday, Sally. There's no future dread because you can handle whatever life throws at you. So you recognize the past and the future are really meaningless. There is only now. So release the future. Help you do this, just breathe in. Nice deep slow inhale. Feel the stomach rising, the chest rising, feel the energy rising up the spine, clench your sphincter muscle. Breathe it into your heart center, into the crown of your head. Pause at the top of the inhale. And now observe any future thoughts. And usually the future shows up as some kind of worry, anxiety. Sometimes we desire things in the future, we have expectation. So the expectation is desire, craving, as the Buddha called it. And then the dread is the fear that those expectations won't be met. So the future involves desire and fear. So observe that. If you've got any future thoughts that you're holding on to, breathe into those and release the future. Exhale and let go of any attachment you have to this future. It can be very attached to a perception of worry, attached to our expectations, desires. So just blow them all away and realize that moment by moment your life's unfolding in the perfect now moment. So there's really nothing to fear. The past is gone, and what is present, freed from its bequest of grief and misery, of pain and loss, becomes the instant in which time escapes the bondage of illusions, where it runs its pitiless, inevitable course. Then as each instant, each moment, which was slave to time, transformed into a holy instant. And the light, the true awareness that was kept hidden in God's Son, in perfect love's extension, is freed to bless the world. Now is he or she free, and all his or her magnificence shines upon a world made free with him or her to share his or her holiness, to share your whole awareness. So the magnificence of your true self will shine upon the world as you share your whole awareness. If you see the lesson for today as the deliverance it really is, you will not hesitate to give as much consistent effort as you can to make it be a part of you. As it becomes a thought that rules your mind, a habit in your problem-solving repertoire, a way of quick reaction to temptation. Extend your learning to the world. And as you learn to see salvation or awakening in all things, so will the world perceive that it is saved. So your awakening becomes the awakening of others. This is the hero's journey. As you wake up, you help others awaken. The world will perceive that it is awakened. In other words, other people will perceive, which is the world he's talking about. Other people. So what can you really worry about? What worry can beset the one who gives his future to the loving hands of God, to the loving awareness of perfect love? What can he suffer? What can cause him pain or bring experience of loss to him? What can he fear? And what can he regard except with love? He who has escaped all fear of future pain has found his way to present peace and certainty of care the world can never threaten. He is sure that his perception may be faulty, but will never lack correction. He is free to choose again when he has been deceived. Change his mind when he has made mistakes. This is the letting go process, the transformation of the mind. So just accept this invitation to perfect peace beyond worry. Breathe in again. Again, notice any worries, any fears, any anxieties show up in your thoughts, in your feelings, in your body. Breathe into those. Imagine you breathing in pure gold and a white light. Feels expansive, feels open, empty, spacious, and aware. This is the light of truth. And sink into that awareness. Just letting go. Place your future in the hands of God. Entrust your future to the power of perfect love. Unless you call the memory of it to come again, placing all your thoughts of sin and evil with the truth of love. And all the world will respond, every living creature respond with healed perception. You entrust yourself to God, to this perfect love, pure formless awareness of perfect love. The hands, the Holy Spirit, this voice that will guide you, will be there. So you let go of the sick illusions of the world. Along with any illusions you cherish. and offer peace to both. So just sinking into peace. Observe the breath just breathe you, it's happening to you, through you, and for you. And with each breath, you sink into this deep peace, peace of perfect love, pure formless awareness, state of heaven, or pure formless awareness, perfect love. Sink into the deep peace. Just breathe, relax, watch your breath, and be still, knowing that your future is safe. It's entrusted to hands of God, or the power of perfect love. Any thoughts arise, seeming to disturb this peace, any worry, anxiety about the future, observe it. You're above the battleground now, so you just casually look on these thoughts and you realize they're not really true, they're not really you, they're really nothing, they're just clouds. Blow them away, the breeze of your breath, exhale, letting them go to the nothingness they really are. To reveal the pure formless awareness, which is the blue sky, in our analogy, and the light of your source shining through it. Just bask in that awareness, in that light. Another minute or so of deep silence. And so just gently coming back to awareness of the body and the breath, senses and the world. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, breathing in, and seeing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Scan your mind again. If there's any fear there, any anxiety, just observe it and remind yourself that you are saved from this. Indeed, for in God's hands, in the power of perfect love, you rest untroubled, sure that only good can come to you. And if you forget, you'll be gently reassured. Accept an unforgiving thought, it will soon be replaced by love's reflection. If you're tempted to attack, you'll appeal to Him who guards your rest, His presence. to make the choice for you that leaves temptation far behind. So no longer is the world your enemy, for you've chosen that you be its friend. Exhale on the truth of that. Notice how the air flows out, the chest and the stomach suck back in. Count of 2, coming to rest in the awareness of your body, feeling into your body. What's your body feeling? Notice the weight of your body pressing down to the chair, your feet touching the ground. Notice what feeling, touching. Notice any smell in your nose as you breathe in again. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth. Notice what you're hearing. You're noticing all these things from the state of pure formless awareness. So no judgment, no interpretation of your sense perception. It clears the way for this underlying awareness to guide you. Come through all of the ego's fear and just give you the guidance right now, every moment, as to what you need to do, what you need to say, what you need to do, where you need to go. So it is said and so it is done. You will have this guidance for the rest of the afternoon and evening to top you up. Just practice today's lesson frequently, ideally every hour, Yeshua recommends. And listen to the short 5-minute breath break I sent to help you do that, or just follow the instructions in my email or text message to do in under a minute. So practice well, and the gift will be yours, the gift of certainty. So 3, on the count of 3, open your eyes. Just take a minute to look around, noticing the various objects in the room around you in the state of pure formless awareness. Just observe a few objects randomly and notice that it's all the same. There's just this peace that permeates all of it. So start to know experientially that there's pure formless awareness, the power of perfect love, which brings this pure formless awareness into your mind, is there always. It's the underlying base state. It's there always, and you can always drop into it. If the ego challenges you, as Yeshua says, if you forget, you'll be gently reassured, and if you accept an unforgiving thought, in other words, you're judging, allowing the ego to come back in, you will soon be able to let it go through the power of this love, through love's reflection. If you're tempted to attack, just appeal to this loving presence who guides your rest, to make the choice for you that leaves temptation far behind. And then the world will no longer be your enemy, because you've chosen that it be your friend. It's your friend because it's helping you to awaken. So that's a nice conclusion to the session. The hero's journey ultimately is there to help you, and the world is there to help you to awaken. So it's your friend and not your enemy. And everyone, if they seem to be your enemy in this world, is actually your friend, because they're helping you on this journey of awakening, to awaken to the ultimate truth. So that brings us to the end of the meditation and this afternoon session. So thank you, Sally, for joining us, and see you tomorrow. Namaste.
Tomorrow. Bye.
Okay, bye.